Right now, here's Mike Raymond.
There are many varied categories of motorsport, from the sleek Formula One cars, of course, through the streets of Monte Carlo with 500 horsepower, to the 600 horsepower Can-Am cars, to touring cars, Grand National sedans, and of course all forms, Formula V's and Fords. And there's also Appendix J and Peter Hopwood's Chevrolet Impala.
Well, Mike, nobody said it was going to be easy to drive. And I think you'll be able to stop the Southern Aurora easier than you could with this, with the drum brakes.
It's so long, Peter.
Well, it's been likened to many things. The Melbourne, the Southern Aurora, you name it and people call it.
You obviously derive a lot of fun out of driving the Appendix J races.
I do. It is a lot of fun. I enjoy a lot of fun out of, or get a lot of fun out of driving anything, but the Chevy's something else.
Just briefly, of course, it's the cars are 64. The category itself is pre-65. Are you allowed any tolerances at all? Or you got to run on the original wheels?
No, the car has to run virtually as it would have run if it had been racing in 1964. So you can't use any modern technology that wasn't available in that time.
Well, Peter Hopwood, a cinematographer, and obviously he likes to drive with a lot of Panavision. Good luck today.
Thanks, Mike.
We'll take a break and return with more Amaroo Park action.
Well, some of these cars may look a little long in the tooth to you, but when the flag drops, I tell you what, they certainly know how to go racing. The big and the little, the great Impala of Peter Hopwood and the little Minis and the older Holdens and the Cortinas. My goodness me, there is some, well, not vintage machinery, Evan Green, but some great cars.
Indeed, and if it wasn't so serious, you'd be inclined to giggle, particularly to see what's on the front row of the grid. Peter Hopwood, big Chevy Impala, and alongside him David Clement in a Mini. If Peter were to open the boot, he could carry the Mini around, but they both shared the same time of 103.9 in practice yesterday, so the little red Mini and the big red, white and blue Chevy Impala will start side by side. Well, shades of Norm Beachy and Skinny Manton, eh?
We've seen Peter Hopwood in action in this car in our telecasts previously, and he's had a little more room than he's got on this circuit to throw it around on some other tracks.
Well, how would you like to be David Clement in the Mini with that thing alongside you?
Going up the hill the first time? No, thank you.
Well, that's the view we're going to get, and right behind him is Des Gibbs in a Mustang, who makes very quick starts, and then Frank Dartell in another Mini. But unfortunately for David Clement, he's got the Mustang behind him and not the Mini.
Okay, let's check those top 12 positions for you again on the grid. Pole position, car 1, David Clements, the Mini. Car 9, Peter Hopwood, the Impala. Then second row, 64, Des Gibbs in a Mustang. 48, Frank Dartell in a Mini. Third row, 88, Greg Topfer in a Holden. Alongside him in car 3, Norm Howe in an EH Holden. Seventh position, car 89, Steve Williams, also an EH Holden. Then another Mini, car 79, Robert Tweedy. Ninth position, car 42, Bruce Stewart's Cortina. Car 44, Paul Corner in a Cortina. John Tesorero is there on the in the sixth row, car 32 in a Vauxhall. Alongside him is Laurie Derner in a Cortina car 70, and another half dozen cars behind them to make up the field, including Doug Waite in a Holden, Peter Sugden, Garry Lester also in a Holden, and a Triumph driven by Michael Westall.
How do you like that? Velour seats.
And a little bit of room, as you can see. He's only a tiny fellow, Peter Hopwood, but he can really spread out.
I suggested to Peter we might have even conducted our pre-race interview, maybe during the event. I could have sat up front with him and the cameraman. There was that much room in the car.
We could have taken the whole team in the car. The second row of the grid, you can see Des Gibbs' big Mustang, the car that featured so much in sedan car racing of the early 60s with Frank Dartell in the Mini alongside.
30 seconds.
There's the field. The distance in this race is 5 laps.
5 frantic ones around Amaroo Park for the Appendix J tourers.
Let's watch how Peter Hopwood put the power of the Chevy down, and also Des Gibbs in the Mustang, and spare sympathetic thoughts for David Clement and Frank Dartell.
Flag is up for the Appendix J race. They're racing. Hey, 64 gets off. Running like Smokey, her on the outside, and David Clement up quickly on the inside with the big V8. Gibbs making a big move up into second place on the outside of Clement, who's got back from the inside to about 6th spot.
Yes, he's lost right out, hasn't he, in the start? He's losing out there, trying to get back up to 3rd again.
He's got the right line through the corner.
Yeah.
He's got Greg Topfer leaning on the outside of him, but he'll hold on there. And he gets right up on the tail of Des Gibbs, but it's Peter Hopwood just swanning the tail of the big Chevy a little bit, like a rather lazy windscreen wiper as he comes around the corner. A flock of minis in the middle of the field. There's John Tessarera in the Vauxhall. If you thought Vauxhalls didn't race in Australia, you haven't thought about the 1960 Armstrong 500, the event that really gave a start to the James Hardy 1000, which was won by a Vauxhall driven by Frank Code and John Roxburgh. Haven't raced much since, but still there's a Vauxhall in this race. And in the meantime, the man leading the race is that fella, Peter Hopwood, surrounded by a Chevy Impala.
Through Camalco corner, straight away 22 foot wide, and it's 21 foot wide. The horde of minis, Cortinas, Vauxhalls, Holdens, all go beneath our camera position and head off up Bitchafave Hill. Plenty of, there's a flag waving, there's a lot of overtaking and repassing, of course. Des Gibbs, though, has closed up right on the tail, and that's 15 foot of it, of the Chevy Impala of Peter Hopwood. And trying to find a safe bit of ground to pass is going to be the next problem.
We're only showing you 2 cars because there's no room for any other. Well, Des Gibbs must be wondering how he's going to get by. His car would be more nimble than the big Chevy, but Peter Hopwood knows his way around here. He's driven all sorts of cars. Des Gibbs, though, one would imagine in the Mustang, would be the man who should get in front, but there's not much track left.
A desperate go behind them too for 3rd spot between Topfer and the little Mini of David Clement, going through Winfield side by side. Mini's got the line and he sneaks back to 3rd again.
Whatever.
Real scrap.
On the inside, number 1, David Clement, was the pole sitter for the race. In the tighter corners particularly, Peter Hopwood has certainly kept very busy at the steering wheel.
Yes. He has 2 rev counters, one for the engine and one for the steering wheel. And spare a thought for David Clement, the driver of a Mini in a race like this knows he's going to lose the start and then has to try and cut his way through the field. And he's got some big cars to cut through. Greg Topfer following him in the edge holder and doing some marvellous things in that car. Can't quite keep up with Clement's little Mini going round those bends, but doesn't lose too much ground and will be a bit quicker going down through Mazda here. Gives it a big squirt, puts the back wheel slightly up onto the edge of the track. Here's Clement, locks up a back brake. He's been watching the Alpha Suds. Well, looks like Brian Foley of, 10, 15 years ago. Head slightly bent as he goes around the corner. There's a great name for the Mini racing. You know, in case you think this is a funny category and these fellas are playing, when you look at the times that they do in these cars, you might get a surprise. Jim McKeown, one of the great drivers of saloon cars of this era, is running in Victoria at Sandown in a week or so's time. And he went driving, because he's going to run this sort of race, in a Lotus Cortina and found to his astonishment that the cars he's up against are driving quicker around Sandown than he used to go in the days when he was winning races. So these fellas are going faster than the Beachies and, the Beachies and the Foleys and the others of that age, way back, 15, 18 years ago.
Lap and a half to go, and the pressure's really on Hoppy now up front. Tail getting out a little more than usual in the big Chevy Impala. Gibbs pushing hard.
There's Gibbs, of course, comes from Wagga. He's a sign writer by trade. Plenty to keep him busy in this race, trying to find a path on the inside of Peter Hopwood as they come down with, of course, time running out in the Appendix J race. But Gibbs closes up again on Peter Hopwood in the Chevy Impala. It's the car, try to point it straight and keep it straight coming out of that corner so it doesn't rebound back onto the concrete. They come on to the finishing straight now to take the signal with, 1 lap to go. A little tail happy that time. It obviously out-accelerates top of the hill, which is fairly close now, though.
Just coming out of Winfield, there's been a scrap. Greg Topfer is one of those that's gone off. Another car, another EH Holden, they're also off. No damage done, other than the fact they're out of the race. Hopwood, meantime, clinging desperately to the lead on the last lap.
Gibbs is well placed. He's in the perfect position for passing. He's just got to find the place and the room to get by. He goes quickly down here, so does Peter Hopwood.
Peter Hopwood, we mentioned, is a cinematographer and also likes ocean yacht racing. be used to a wallowing around.
Hopwood's time, by the way, the last lap was 64.6. Under race conditions in a car like that, on a circuit like this.
Coming down into the last corner, Gibbs starting to close up. One short straight, then the sprint to the checkered flag. Peter Hopwood comes out of the bottom corner, heading towards Camalco corner, and for the cinematographer, it's not going to be a photo finish as Hopwood takes the wins. Second place is going to go to Des Gibbs, and it looks like David Clement may have even outlasted some of the other cars going across the strike to finish off the event. We'll wait for the cars on the other side of Bitchapave and confirm the placings for you. The Appendix J touring car race here today at Amaroo Park Raceway. A very popular winner indeed, Peter Hopwood. Second place going to Mustang-mounted Des Gibbs. And third to David of the David Goliath said David Clement. So working his way down the back part of the course, heading back to the pits, is a very delighted Peter Hopwood. We'll take a break and return with the finals of the Better Brakes and Scar Series from Amaroo Park.
And Peter Hopwood, the winner of the Appendix J race, just untangling himself from the Impala and getting out. How do you keep fit, Peter? Do you go for walks around the car?
Well, I don't need to run.
It looks hard work.
I usually get a fair temperature up in the car. I'll say that. I do a fair bit of arm waving.
Good race, though.
It was a good race. I was pleased to see Des Gibbs in the Mustang get clear at the start because, you know, he really kept me honest that time.
A good start was important to you, wasn't it?
Oh, it is, yeah. It's very important because at Amaroo there's not a lot of place to pass people, and my car needs quite a lot of room. And,
You've got to tell us again why you do it. And why do you drive a car like this, the biggest car in the field, the most powerful car in the field, the hardest car to drive in the field?
Well, there's two reasons. The first is that I always enjoy a challenge, and the other is that I've always driven small cars, and for years and years and years I've been watching people use these frustrating tactics of stopping small cars getting past. So now that I know them all, I thought I'd have a go from the front.
And what's it like?
It's a lot of fun. Get on television more too.
A happy man, and you won the ARDC trophy. Congratulations, Peter Hopwood.
Thank you very much, and thanks very much to the ARDC for putting on these races for Appendix J. We're an unsponsored class, and we certainly enjoy our racing and hope everybody else does too.